Amid rising South China Sea tensions, Filipino fishermen risk their lives as Chinese patrols intensify around Scarborough Shoal. With Balikatan 2026 drills underway and President Marcos Jr. vowing to defend sovereignty, ordinary communities face daily danger, caught between military showdowns and survival. How far will this geopolitical clash escalate? For generations, Scarborough Shoal, or Bajo de Masin Lock in the Philippines, has been a rich fishing ground relied upon by coastal Filipino communities for both food and livelihood. But today, this stretch of coral reef in the South China Sea has become a dangerous flashpoint, drawing the world's attention and leaving ordinary fishermen trapped amid the interests of major powers. Located about 124 nautical miles west of Luzon, Scarborough lies within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone under international law. Yet, for over a decade, the People's Republic of China has maintained effective control over the reef, asserting sovereignty over the area. The South China Sea is a critical maritime corridor through which trillions of dollars in global trade flow annually. Control over these waters offers not only strategic influence, but also access to abundant fisheries and potential energy resources, making Scarborough Shoal a hotbed of contesting claims. The modern dispute traces back to 2012 when Philippine authorities attempted to apprehend Chinese fishermen near the reef. Chinese vessels intervened, resulting in a standoff that left China in control while Philippine access became severely restricted. Manila challenged Beijing's sweeping maritime claims at The Hague, and in 2016, an international tribunal ruled in favor of the Philippines, declaring China's 9-line claims invalid and affirming Filipino fishing rights. China rejected the ruling entirely and continues to ignore it. Since then, tensions have escalated through repeated maritime confrontations, aggressive blocking maneuvers, water cannon incidents, and floating barriers restricting access for Filipino fishermen. Satellite imagery from April 2026 shows a floating barrier across parts of the shoal with Chinese patrol vessels strategically positioned, intensifying the sense of risk for local fishing communities. Amid rising tensions, the Philippines and the United States conducted Exercise Balikatan. And 2026, the largest iteration of the annual military drills. Held from April 20th to May 8th, 2026, the exercises involved around 17,000 troops from the Philippines, U.S., and allied nations, including Australia, Japan, Canada, France, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom. The drills encompassed land, sea, and air operations, focusing on coastal defense, maritime security, missile systems, integrated air and missile defense, counter-drone operations, and sensor-to-shooter coordination. Philippine military officials described the exercise as defensive and necessary, emphasizing that it was not directed at any specific country. Analysts noted that the scale of the drills reflects a more active defense posture in response to ongoing Chinese assertiveness. Japan's participation marked a historic milestone with its first ever missile firing from Philippine soil, demonstrating deepening regional security cooperation. These joint exercises aim to strengthen interoperability and prepare allied forces for potential regional crises. China escalated its presence near Scarborough Shoal during Balikatan. The People's Liberation Army, Navy, and Air Force conducted combat readiness patrols, deploying warships, fighter jets, and bomber aircraft equipped with anti-ship missiles. Beijing framed the activity as defensive, asserting it was necessary to protect Chinese sovereignty. At the same time, Chinese officials criticized foreign military drills as destabilizing, arguing that outside involvement threatens peace and encourages confrontation. Amid these military maneuvers, Filipino fishing families carry the brunt of the dispute. Fishermen describe daily voyages as perilous, reporting that their boats are shadowed by larger vessels blocked by floating barriers and closely monitored by Chinese patrols. One fisherman explained what used to be a normal day at sea has turned into a stressful journey filled with anxiety over whether they will be stopped, chased, or forced to leave the area. Fishing is not merely a profession here, it is essential for survival. Residents report military aircraft overhead and Coast Guard patrols nearby, creating a pervasive sense of tension. The sea that once provided sustenance and income now feels like a zone dominated by uncertainty and fear. Experts warn that the overlap of military drills, patrols, and civilian activity creates a high risk of accidental confrontation. Even routine encounters could escalate. Past incidents have included close-range maritime confrontations, water cannon use, and aggressive maneuvers. Analysts caution that any misstep could trigger a broader crisis, particularly during periods of heightened military activity like Balikatan. The South China Sea remains one of the world's most strategically important waterways. Beyond trade, it contains potential energy resources, critical sea lanes, and some of the richest fishing grounds in Asia. For the Philippines, strengthening alliances, particularly with the Uni. 10 states and Japan has become a cornerstone of defense strategy. The security partnerships, joint patrols, and exercises reflect Manila's commitment to preparedness and deterrence. China continues to expand its maritime presence, including Coast Guard operations, military infrastructure, and artificial island development. Scarborough Shoal has evolved into a symbol of competing visions for the Indo-Pacific. Southeast Asian countries emphasize international law and maritime rights. China frames its presence as sovereignty and strategic security. The United States and allies prioritize freedom of navigation and balance of power. Despite diplomatic efforts, resolution remains elusive. Philippine officials continue to condemn China's actions near Scarborough Shoal as violations of international law, while Beijing maintains that its patrols are legitimate. Ordinary fishermen, however, continue to navigate the contested waters, feeling forgotten amid larger political arguments. Ordinary people are the ones carrying the burden of the dispute, a local observer said. This reality underscores the human cost of the geopolitical struggle. Fishing communities face uncertainty, danger, and economic pressure daily. The combination of military exercises, patrols, and civilian fishing activity creates a highly sensitive environment where even routine encounters could turn dangerous. Recent months have seen increased patrols and floating barriers, confirming fears of restricted access. Security analysts warn that Scarborough Shoal could emerge as one of Asia's most dangerous flashpoints if tensions escalate without effective diplomatic management. While some advocate for stronger deterrence, others emphasize crisis diplomacy to prevent unintended confrontation. For fishermen, the stakes are immediate and personal. Fishing is not simply a livelihood. It is survival, and each trip into disputed waters is a gamble with high risk. For them, Scarborough Shoal is not just a geopolitical flashpoint, it is their livelihood, their future, and increasingly their greatest source of fear. As the sun rises over the South China Sea each morning, small fishing boats continue to navigate through military exercises. Coast Guard patrols and geopolitical rivalry, embodying the human dimension of a conflict often viewed through maps and strategy papers. Scarborough Shoal is a vivid reminder that while governments debate sovereignty and security, ordinary people face the real and immediate consequences on the water.